Alright, so what we got going on here is a kind of like a tracing tutorial. I'm going to go over how I cut up an image to be engraved in different parts and sections so that we can have individual pieces of the engraving that can also be cut out from like different materials, and we can create kind of like layered engraved pieces using the same engraving and not multiple different ones. To start out, basically what I would do is take the image, and then I would get the pen tool and I go ahead and pick a color and manually just trace out the shapes. And as you can see, I've got different colors in here, and these are just, I trace out the different hard lines to see what pieces might become a new layer. And what I end up with is something like this. And as you can see, we've got all these different parts and shapes, and they're not necessarily divided per color. The colors just help me see the breaks in the different shapes and hard lines and whatnot. And then to make these individual pieces, what I do is I would grab like my traced parts, and say I just want to get this left side fish shape. I'm gonna get everything, it's all grouped right now, but I'll get the shape builder tool. And so if I want all the fish, which is this piece, and this piece, to be one shape, well, using the shape builder tool, I'm just going to click inside here and drag through. Now that has removed all the individual parts and made one big part. So if I ungroup it, I have a piece of the fish there. And a tiny little stray dot thing there. We'll just get rid of that. Actually, it doesn't matter. I'm not using this. But that's how I get those individual parts. I trace them all out individually, and then I'll grab the shape builder and fuse them together, ungroup things, and then move the parts where I need. And I always make a duplicate, so that way I can just take this one and I'll trace it out, or break the parts up and get the next different pieces I need. And as you can see, I've done that with like the head of the fish. I've got the secondary like layers behind the fish for the scales and the boat parts, and I've just been going through and chopping them up. Now, to get these individual pieces of the engravings, so it's not just one whole image, it's kind of like a little multi-step process, and I'm going to show you how we do that. And it's not very hard, it just takes a couple steps. So let me grab this. Well, let me grab all of, well, no, actually, let me just set that all back to where it was. Let me grab this one, and let me grab this one. I'm just gonna take these two, Control C. I'm gonna put them, yeah, here I was playing with this. I'm gonna put them on a new artboard, and we're gonna go over how to get the individual shapes off this real quick. Looks like I left a piece of that behind. Let me grab all of it. So this one, yeah, I want that one. This one has the full outlined shape going on for it, and basically I did that just by fusing all the lines together, removing all the internal parts, and then just Control J to make one solid piece. And we're going to use this outline to make sure we're lining up the parts for the individual engravings. Let's do an example. You know, actually, this is gonna be really. Let's just use the left side fish as an example. So once again, I'm gonna get all this, the shape builder, and let's go ahead and move this through. And I got my fish that I want right there. And let's ungroup and move this to the side, and we'll delete all that. Make sure there was a tiny little individual. Okay, looks like I got it that time. Alright, so now I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to line it up on top of this. Let me see here. And what I like to do is I like to grab kind of like a corner node if there's one available, like that anchor right there. And we actually arrange, bring to front, and grab that corner node. And I'm going to hold Control and snap that into place. The next step, we're going to go ahead and get rid of the red outline because we don't need it. And that's just going to leave with the gold outline and our boat fish thing. I'm going to grab these together and right click, make clipping mask. And what that did was used my outline to create a mask, and everything else with that image is now gone. Well, it can't be seen. It's technically still here, as you can see if I highlight this a certain way, maybe. There, okay. So you can see that whole image is technically still there. It's just invisible. We can't see it. So to get just this, just the fish and not the whole thing, what we're going to do now is we're going to go to File, and we're going to Export as, and as you can see, I've got it already. And I would export it as, and let's just say left fish full. I'm just going to use that one. It's the exact same thing I already have. And we're going to export it as a PNG. Yeah, I know it exists. We'll just replace it. It's the same thing. Now we want to make sure we're exporting it as a transparent PNG, so that way all of the white is considered not there and see-through. And we just hit OK. But I'm not going to save it because I already have one. Then what we'll do is we'll come back to our main page, and we will go to where those are saved. And I'm just going to take this and drag it into my artboard, and that is now just this, just that section. The rest of it is gone, and it's just the fish. And what I'll do is use, well, I'll just grab this, copy it real quick, and bring it up here and paste it in place. And then it's just a matter of lining this new frame up with the image that we cut out. And it should, at least in Illustrator, it will kind of snap to where the border is. And then all we do is we can change the stroke to what we want to denote cutting, and I'm using red to denote cutting now. And there's a little stray node right there. It keeps coming back. I'm gonna have to hunt that down and get rid of it entirely. But that's that. So now we have this, and we'll just Control G, we'll group them together, and voila. And as you can see, I've got all these different parts. They're all individual, so they can be engraved separately, cut separately, and then if you wanted, you could do what I do and kind of create like panels to stack them and layer them. And when they're all stacked or layered together, you kind of end up with something like this. Well, missing pieces still. I'm still working on everything. But you can see it'll all come together and form the different layers. I think that's the last thing to note is with all these different images saved, it becomes a little difficult for the Glowforge to load it all together. So we probably have to do a bunch of individual loads, or treat it all as like separate projects to be loaded individually. I wouldn't load like all of this data into the Glowforge at once. It might have a mini heart attack. But anyway, that is a quick and easy like way to cut up an image that you want to engrave. Go ahead and, you know, trace the outline of your shape or shapes, and you can do like I did and use different colors to help, you know, see the different parts of the design that you might want to cut up. And you see I've done quite a few different pieces for this one just to see how they might all come together. Any questions? I mean, I guess feel free to ask if I missed anything. But it's a pretty simple process once you know how to do it. Just remember, you need to export as a PNG, and then you're going to bring it back in to where you're working, so that way you only have like that individual piece of the PNG. And yeah, there we go. Thanks for watching. Any questions, like I said, feel free to reach out and I'll try to go over more in depth for what you're looking for.